So how does an engineered hardwood floor go from an unfinished piece of wood to a beautiful floor? Simple. It happens in the stain and finish process. Now after the floor is milled, it'll go to a different station where the stain and finish is applied. The first step will be a coat of stain to get the color. Now one thing to point out, it's usually just one coat of stain. However, if it's say an antique or a whitewash finish, there might be multiple coats of stain to achieve that look. Now once a stain is applied, it'll go get layers of polyurethane. The polyurethane used in pre-finished flooring is infused with aluminum oxide. Aluminum oxide is a very fine powder, say like a baby powder, that's actual aluminum, and it has great scratch resistance properties. Now you won't see aluminum oxide used in site finish floors because it's so fine that it'll actually settle to the bottom of the polyurethane. Now in a pre-finished operation, the polyurethane is continuously being agitated to make sure that that aluminum oxide doesn't settle. Also to point out, in a site finish application, you're going to have 2 to 3 coats of polyurethane, whereas in a pre-finished operation, you're going to have up to 9 layers of polyurethane. The reason is on a site finish, you're going to have fewer, thicker layers of polyurethane applied, and then in a pre-finished operation, it's going to be multiple thin layers applied. Now one thing to point out, after each process or each layer of finish or stains applied during the pre-finishing process, it goes through a UV light station that will actually cure the finish before it goes on to the next process. So it starts out as an unfinished piece of engineered flooring, and then by the time it gets down to the end, it's a dried, ready to go product. One thing I do want to point out is there is some unfinished engineered flooring on the market, and it's treated the same way as say an unfinished site finish solid hardwood, where you'd apply the stain and finish at the job site. But the reality is about 90% of the market when it comes to engineered hardwood flooring is pre-finished. Engineered hardwood flooring is a great product. It's stable and makes for a beautiful floor. I'm a big fan of engineered for multiple reasons. First being, like I mentioned earlier, it is more stable than solid hardwood. Also, the installation is much less messy than a site finish install. You don't have to deal with the sawdust from sanding or the smell and the mess from the stain and finish applications. Now, a few things to point out when it comes to engineered flooring, like with any hardwood floors, it needs to acclimate. So you'll take the floors to the job site and let it sit for at least 48 hours in the environment that it's going to be installed in. Also, engineered is not the ideal product for wet areas, so keep that in mind. One thing to point out is that over time, direct sunlight can fade engineered flooring. Also, whenever you're cleaning your floors, make sure to use the right tools and chemicals that are made specifically for hardwood floors. So now that you have this information, it's time to go out and find your perfect floor.